Welcome back. Today we're making a mixed metals cake. So this cake is inspired honestly by the rings that I wear on my hands. I love mixing different types of metals, whether it's white gold, yellow gold, rose gold, and anything in between. So I wanted to kind of bring all those different metallic tones together in a cake, and I decided to do that with my classic vanilla layer cake recipe and some good old-fashioned vanilla buttercream. So the flavors in this cake are super straightforward, nothing too crazy. And the recipes, of course, are up on Chelsweets.com. If you actually Google Chelsweets layer cake recipe or Chelsweets frosting, both of them should pop up as your first thing in Google. Once all 4 of my cake layers were stacked, I began to add a thin crumb coat around the cake just to lock in any loose crumbs. So I just added a bit more frosting around the sides and at the top of the cake, and then I made sure to completely cover the cake layers so that no cake was exposed. I then used my bench scraper to get my crumb coat super smooth, and I popped the cake into the freezer for about 5 minutes until the frosting was firm to the touch. Then I went to town adding on a super thick second layer of frosting. And it's really important that you use enough frosting here to make sure that you can get really nice and smooth sides. If you want to see a more in-depth tutorial on how I get smooth frosting on my cakes, you can click the link in the upper right corner. It's a little bit of a process. But thanks to the beauty of editing, you guys don't have to see the whole thing. So next I used some edible art paint in 3 different shades. You can see here I have a metal gray, a rose gold, and a glamorous gold. And I added these just into a plastic painting tray that I have. And I just used some clean paintbrushes that I had on hand. I ordered them on Amazon. They were pretty cheap and they came in a variety pack. And I used them for a lot of my cakes. So first I started off with some big strokes around the cake, just using some of that gray metallic paint. And it took me a little bit of time to get a feel for it. You can see I started making my lines a bit longer. And then I started adding in some different brush strokes using some of those different shades. I wanted the strokes to kind of fade at the top, but I also wanted them not to completely lose definition, so I went over some of the strokes I initially made a couple times, and then I just began to fill in between all the different brush strokes to give the cake a lot of character and color. I always feel like less is more, but I usually do get carried away when I'm decorating a cake, so as you can see, I really just went to town on any white space in between the lines that I could find. And once I felt satisfied and felt like I had really added enough color to the sides of the cake, I used a small French tip to pipe a fun border around the top of the cake. So to do this, I'm really just moving the piping tip in kind of a spiral motion. And as you're doing this, you don't have to worry about stopping to reposition the cake because it's super easy to pick up right where you left off. I chilled the cake again for about 10 minutes until that frosting on top of the cake was firm to the touch, and then I decided to paint it in an alternating pattern of those 3 metallic shades. So this took way longer than I expected, but I really wanted to completely cover the frosting, and that just took a lot of attention to detail. Sadly, I'm not going to cut into this cake because it was for a friend's holiday party, but the inside is vanilla, so it's really not that exciting, I promise. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below.